Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. My name is Todd. It was late at night when I was studying for my math exam under the covers of my blanket. Suddenly, my blanket took flight as my angry father yanked it off me and my bed. My father snarled, "What do you think you're doing?" He snatched the book from my grasp. "I'm going to burn this like the rest of them." "Please leave him alone!" My mother stood at the door pleading with him. "You promised me you would let Todd finish high school." My dad said what he always said. "Yes, I allowed him because I promised you, but I won't let Todd graduate with a high grade point average. Then he'll want to go to college. I was valedictorian at Harvard University, the best college in the world, and where did it get me? Nowhere. College is a waste of time." My dad graduated from Harvard University. Strangely, he hated academic success. Despite this, his diploma was hanging on our wall, where everyone could see it. When people came to visit us, he would always show it to them and make a point of telling them, "I graduated from the best college in the world as the valedictorian of my class. It means nothing. Took me years to figure out that going to college was a waste of my time. I could have been a successful businessman if I had just gotten a job instead of going to college. Now I'm an accountant who makes peanuts. I regret ever going." I couldn't wait to turn 18. I was determined to leave home and go to a university. Unfortunately, I needed money if I wanted to go to a good one. Even if I were to get a job now, there'd be no way to save enough money in such a short time. One day, opportunity knocked on my door. I was going to ask something from my mom. She was in her bedroom, watching TV. I don't watch television. I've never been interested despite my parents offering to get one for my room. "I love this game show," Mom said. "If this contestant answers this question correctly, she'll win $100,000. Intrigued, I asked, $100,000? What's the show called?" "I'm surprised you've never heard of it," Mom replied. "It's a famous game show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You move up in the game as you answer questions and keep making money. Contestants who make it to the final question win $1 million. Of course, the questions get more difficult as the show progresses." I sat next to her and read the question on screen. "Which is the smallest country in the world?" "Vatican City," I said without looking at the choices. The other choices were Monaco, Tuvalu, and San Marino. My mom looked at me and said, "I think it's Monaco." The contestant on TV also said Monaco, but the host declared Vatican City as the correct answer. "Way to go, Todd! If you had been up there, you would have won $100,000, my mom said excitedly. When I returned to my room, I Googled all the $1 million questions from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They were all tough, but I knew some of the answers. Maybe this could be how I'd make enough money for university. I decided to apply and become a contestant. 4 months passed with no news from the game show. I still hoped I could get a call back, so I began studying. I went to the library every day to read about different subjects and visited Wikipedia pages to read random articles. One day, my phone rang. "Hi, I'm calling you from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire," the voice on the other end said. "We're inviting you to the studio as a contestant. Since you're not of legal age, your parents need to sign a release stating they've consented to your participation." My heart sank. I was sure my dad would be against it, so I couldn't muster the courage to tell them about it until the very last day. On the day of the taping, I woke up in excitement and fear. I told them about the show at breakfast and asked them to sign the release. My dad refused, just like I expected. His excuses didn't make sense. "What if you get eliminated in the first round?" he complained. "I can't let you go on TV and embarrass our family." "Will you please just sign it?" Mom scolded. "Todd is a brilliant kid. I'm sure he'll make us proud." Dad seethed in a fury. "He takes after you. If he had my genes, Todd would make the smart choice and listen to what I say. I don't want him going on some game show. We will not be discussing this again. Now, I need to get dressed and go to work." With that, he stormed out of the kitchen. "Hand me the release," my mom commanded. "If your dad won't sign it, I'll sign it for both of us. Even better, I'll come with you to the taping. But I need to do something first." She calmly walked to their bedroom door, put the key in the lock, and turned it. Inside, my dad was getting dressed. When he heard the lock turn, he shouted, "What's going on?" "Todd is doing that game show, and I'm going with him," she screamed. "You won't be able to stop him. He's going to do amazing. You've got a perfectly good TV in the bedroom, so you're going to watch and let Todd prove it to you. And by the way, you're out of here once we get home. When we arrived at the studio, my knees were weak and shaky. I stood in line as the fourth contestant, waiting nervously for my turn backstage. As contestants, we're supposed to sit in the chair across from the host. The game ends if you can't answer a question or decide to leave with the money you've already won instead of moving forward to the next round. Once a contestant is eliminated, a new contestant takes a seat in front of the host. The first two contestants before me left the game only after a couple of questions. The third contestant kept going until the 9th question, but they answered the $150,000 question wrong. It was finally my turn. My heart was pounding as I sat in the chair in front of the host. The first few questions were pretty straightforward. The host read the questions and the 4 answers. I replied in the first second, even though I had 15 seconds to think. The host was impressed and said, "You know a lot for your age." There were 15 questions in total. The final question was worth $1 million. When the host read the 7th question, I got nervous because I didn't know the answer. "In what year was the first iPhone released?" the host asked. The choices were the year 2000, 2004, 2007, and 2009. Each contestant was given 3 lifelines. The first was called 50-50, which eliminated 2 of the wrong choices on screen. The second lifeline was Ask the Audience, and they would ask the question to the people in the studio. The third one was called Phone a Friend. For this lifeline, I'd call someone I trusted and ask them for the answer. I used the 50-50 lifeline for the iPhone question. That way, I was left with the choices of the year 2000 and 2007. I thought iPhone technology wasn't that old, so I said 2007. When the host asked, "Is that your final answer?" my voice began shaking. "Yes," I said. It was correct, and I won $50,000. My mom was sitting in the studio audience clapping for me. I could only wonder if my dad was watching the show at home from the bedroom. I pictured him getting angrier every time I answered correctly. Despite my dad's worst efforts, I'd been reading books for years. It wasn't hard for me to come up with each answer, including the 12th question. The host was surprised when I promptly answered, "Which is the deepest lake in the world?" It was Lake Baikal. "We have a strong candidate for the $1 million prize tonight," the host cheered. I breezed through questions 13 and 14, finally reaching the last question, the $1 million question. I looked at my mom. She was smiling, tears of joy streaming down her face. Even if I failed to answer this question correctly, I was happy knowing she was proud of me. The host started reading the $1 million question. "Which Ivy League university does not have a valedictorian title?" Then he read the choices. A. Harvard University. B. Columbia University. C. Princeton University. D. Dartmouth College. I was surprised when I heard the question. My dad was in for a shock. You'll find out why in just a moment. I told the host that I would use a lifeline to call my father. My dad picked up, but couldn't speak because he was crying. "Hello?" I said. After a few choked sobs, his answer came. "I'm watching the show, Todd. I see the question. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer. I'm sorry, son. I lied to you and your mom. I wasn't the valedictorian of my class at Harvard. That diploma hanging on the wall is fake. I didn't even finish high school. I was trying to stop you from going to college because I was jealous. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry." I gave him a cold reply. "Dad, as I was preparing for the show, I learned that there were no valedictorians at Harvard University. I knew you had been lying to us. That's why I called you. I had plans to tell you that I knew your diploma was fake as I left for college, but then I found an even better opportunity. The opportunity to hear you confess in front of millions of people, just as I figured you would. I hope you've learned a valuable lesson," I said. Then I turned to the host and said, "The correct answer is Harvard University. All other universities among the choices have valedictorians, except for Harvard." The studio broke into applause. Not only had I won $1 million, but I had also made my father come clean on national TV. When we got home, my mother unlocked the bedroom door and walked my dad out to speak with us. He apologized to me and my mom again and again. My mom took the Harvard diploma hanging from the wall and handed it to him scornfully. "Take your fake diploma and get out of our house. "You're no longer welcome here," she said. My father left that day. I didn't give him any of my winnings. Right now, I only have one goal: to finish at a good college and put my actual diploma where my dad's fake one used to hang. It was the worst morning of my life. I was getting ready to go to school. My dad came into the room in a panic. Daniel, your mother." He was unable to talk because he started crying. In shock, I asked him, "What's going on, Dad? Did something happen to Mom?" His voice was shaking as he replied, "Son, your mom is not here anymore." "Dad, I don't understand. Where is she?" I asked. "She's not here, Daniel. Son, please, no more questions. But don't worry, I'll do whatever it takes to bring your mom back." My mom had disappeared without a trace, and my dad wouldn't give me an explanation other than, "Your mom is not here anymore." Whenever I'd ask him about her, he'd say, "Don't worry, I'll bring her back." It didn't take long for me to lose patience with him. "What do you mean, bring her back, Dad?" I pleaded, but he wouldn't answer. He was acting really weird. I just couldn't accept what was going on. I missed my mom so much, but I was powerless to fix the situation. One night, my dad said, "Daniel, I need to focus on finding your mom. I enrolled you in a boarding school. From now on, I want you to go there." Finding Mom? Had she disappeared? This was the first time my dad used words like that. Before, I thought he meant Mom had left us, but I knew I wouldn't get an answer from him even if I asked. "Dad, I want to stay with you," I said to him. His reply was simple, but filled with an odd tone of determination. "No, I'm sorry, son. This is not up for discussion. It is what's best for you right now," Dad responded. My dad took me to boarding school the next day. As we were saying goodbye, he hugged me and said, "One day, I will come back here with your mom, and together, we will take you home." After Dad left, people from the school helped me find where I would stay. I was expecting a dormitory, but I discovered I'd be staying in a private room, almost like a luxury hotel. Dad had brought me to this new school in such a hurry that I'd never gotten a chance to do any research on it. This was the kind of high school billionaires sent their kids to. The annual tuition was $270,000. My dad was a high school physics teacher. There's no way he could afford such an expensive school. I called my dad and asked him how he'd paid for it. "Daniel, please don't waste my time with this. I need to focus on bringing your mom back," he said dismissively. He was acting mysteriously again. What was he hiding? I was curious to find out where my mom was, why my dad wasn't giving me more details about her absence, and how he could afford such a fancy school. My dad was calling me every week, but our phone conversations never lasted for more than a few minutes. The last time he called, he'd said, "I'm very close to finding your mom. Soon, we'll come pick you up, son." I never heard from him after that. I called him, but his phone was off. After a few months passed by, I started getting worried. Did something happen to him? Finally, I decided to act. I had to go back home to see if my dad was all right. When I entered our house, I saw spiderwebs hanging everywhere. Then I realized he was also gone, just like my mom. That meant that it had been a long time since he'd been home. My dad quit his job after my mom disappeared. He never left the bedroom. I thought he was depressed. He talks about bringing Mom back, but won't even leave his room, I thought. I walked into my parents' bedroom with these thoughts in my mind. I looked around. Everything looked normal. There was a photo of my parents hanging on the wall. I would need that photo if I ever went to the police to investigate their disappearance, so I took it out of its frame. While struggling to remove the picture from the wall, I heard a sound. "What is that?" I gasped in shock. A hidden door opened inside the wall. Apparently, moving the picture frame would trigger the mechanism. I walked in through the door hesitantly. This was definitely a secret room. There was a writing board on the wall. It was filled with mathematical equations that my dad had written. There were notebooks everywhere, filled with calculations on every page. I took one and looked inside. I saw a box in the corner. When I opened it, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was chock full of diamonds and gold. So this was how he'd been able to send me to such an exclusive private school. But how did he get his hands on them in the first place? I kept looking around for clues. There was a black and white newspaper on the floor. My eyes opened wide when I saw my dad's photo on the front page. The story's headline read, "Genius Man Invents Color TV." I checked the date of the paper, and it was September the 3rd, 1928. There was a sizable structure on the other side of the room. I moved in closer to examine it. It was some sort of capsule designed to fit a single person. I cracked open the hatch door and peeked inside. There was a small screen and a keypad with numbers on it. On the screen, it said 1895. To test it out, I typed 3333 and hit enter. A red text started flashing on the screen. Unable to initiate time travel. Error code 0056? Time travel? I shouted in disbelief. I stepped out of the capsule, frightened. My dad had invented the time machine. Is this for real? But that's impossible. Impossible! I started babbling to myself. There was a small screen on the capsule. Door open, it said. I closed the capsule door. The screen flashed. Enter password to initiate return. To initiate return? Is this what I think it is? Is this for returning to the present? I wiped the cold sweat from my forehead. What could the password be? At that moment, I remembered a text message my dad sent me 1 year ago on my birthday. You came along and changed all of our passwords. Of course. My dad used different versions of my birthday whenever he needed to set up a password. That's what he was referring to in my birthday message. I decided to use the password he used most frequently. First, I put in the year I was born, 2006. Then, I entered the day, 13. Finally, I had to enter my birth month, but knowing my dad, he'd put 3 zeros in front of it to strengthen the password. 000 and 3. The capsule started powering up with a loud zap. A thick white smoke burst out as it began to shake and vibrate. The smoke and vibrations grew more intense. It felt like the capsule was about to explode. I ran to the opposite corner of the room. Oh my God, what is happening? I stammered in fear. I was convinced the capsule would explode, taking the entire house with it. After a while, the capsule began to calm down. Suddenly, it went silent. The capsule was still. The room was filled with the strange mist. The door slowly started opening. Dad, I called out, but it wasn't my dad who stepped out of the capsule. It was my mom. Daniel, honey, she exclaimed. Oh, thank goodness. You have no idea how much I missed you. I ran to my mom to embrace her. Just then, my dad walked out of the capsule as well. I need to fix this chemical mist issue. I wonder if it would go away if I used tetrabromo instead of hexabromo. I'll test it out as soon as I can. I ran to him to give him a hug. I actually had scheduled our return, Dad said. It was supposed to initiate it automatically, but something went wrong. There must have been a glitch. If you hadn't initiated it manually, we would have been stuck in 1895 forever. Then he explained everything that happened. I finally got the whole picture. I already mentioned that my dad is a physics teacher. Time travel is a subject that physicists have been exploring for more than a century. There have even been some experiments, but it has yet to be successfully proven. My dad had been reading an article on quantum physics when a light bulb went off in his head. He worked on his idea for weeks and finally devised a formula. He could hardly believe it when he realized his formula might be the key to time travel. Unsatisfied with just a theory, he set out to build a time machine. Because it was such a huge discovery, he had to keep his work a secret, so my mom helped him build a secret room in their bedroom. After 8 months, the first prototype of the time machine was ready. First, my dad experimented with animals. When he knew the machine was working, he ventured into the past. My dad needed a vast amount of money to develop the time machine further. He would travel back to the 19th and 20th centuries to get that money. He would take more modern technology like a vintage color TV, microwave oven, or a vacuum cleaner to the past and establish himself as their inventor. He was improving people's lives and raising money for his time machine at the same time. He'd also buy diamonds and gold before returning to the present. Usually when my dad traveled through time, Mom would bring him back, but Mom couldn't contain her curiosity about the past. My dad added an auto-return feature to the machine so they could travel as a couple for the first time. Unfortunately, the time machine had a glitch. It sent my dad to the target year, but accidentally sent my mom to an unknown time. Then the auto-return feature brought my dad back to the present, but not my mom, trapping her in the past. After my mom had disappeared, my dad started time traveling to different years in hopes of finding my mom. After countless trips, he found her in the year 1895, but the machine glitched again, and they couldn't return to the present. Thankfully, I found the time machine in the secret room and manually activated the return feature, allowing them to return to the present. I'm so happy to be reunited with my parents again. My dad is working on perfecting his time machine. Recently, I came up with the idea to bring zippers to the past, and he made hundreds of thousands of dollars with them. As it is now, the time machine can only go one way, to the past. My dad has only begun working out the complex math of time travel. When he succeeds in unlocking the secrets of future travel, he'll officially announce his invention. You are the first person to ever learn about his most incredible creation.